Hey everyone, Scott here, and this is, I don't know, the seventh or eighth video I've done today. I hope I'm not doing quantity over quality, but we're just going to have a quick look at the New Testament in Modern English, Revised Edition by J.B. Phillips. So Phillips was a pastor. He was in London. During World War II, he started doing this, which is amazing. He just felt very compelled to create a New Testament that would be readable and understandable to the youth. And, this is the 40s, this is into the 50s. I think this revision's from the 60s. We didn't have the NIV, we didn't have the CSB, Good News version, all these. We have so many options today. They didn't. So he was breaking ground. And he was doing it with very little resources. But I just want to look at a few examples of things in here that were interesting to me. I'm not big on paraphrases myself, but I was glad to check this out. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 8, or he uses more, I guess, friendlier titles, the second letter of the Christians at Corinth. And I point this out because Wiersbe had a note about this, which I really liked in his commentary. He says in verses 20 to 22, Paul made it clear that he welcomed the representatives from the cooperating churches. He wanted to avoid any blame. It is not enough to say, well, the Lord sees what we're doing. We should make certain that men can see what we are doing. I like how J.B. Phillips translates 2 Corinthians 8:21. Naturally, we want to avoid the slightest breath of criticism in the distribution of their gifts, and to be absolutely above board not only in the sight of God, but in the eyes of men. And so talking about, we need to make sure what we're doing looks above board, not that we're answerable to other people in the way we are to God, but we want things to look on the up and up as Christians. And he gave credit to J.B. Phillips for how he paraphrased this, and I agree, it's very useful. Here we're looking at Acts chapter 8, and this is in the 89 NRSV here. We see there's a certain man named Simon who had previously practiced magic in the city and amazed the people of Samaria, saying he was someone great. And he sees what the disciples are doing and how they're empowered by the Holy Spirit. And he says to me, give me also this power so that anyone on whom I lay my hands may receive the Holy Spirit. But Peter said to him, may your silver perish with you, because you thought you could obtain God's gifts with money. You have no part or share in this, for your heart is not right before God. Phillips has something a good bit different. Give me this power too, so that if I were to put my hands on anyone, he would receive the Holy Spirit. But Peter said to him, to hell with you and your money. How dare you think you could buy the gifts of God for money? And that's pretty strong and very different. And he has an asterisk, and he notes, this is really what the Greek says. It's a pity that modern English usage obscures the literal meaning. And I don't know if that's true or not. I don't read Greek, so an interesting idea, though. I'd love to hear from someone who does know enough Greek to be able to interpret the original. This is in Acts 19, and this is a good example of how when modern measurements are used, it can become dated within a pretty short period of time. So it talks about people who'd been practicing magic who gave it up as they came to faith in Jesus, and they were burning their books, their magic books, and they estimate the value of these books and found it to be no less than £5,000. Well, this was in the 1950s or 60s. If you look at the NLT, for example, which was last updated in 2015, it says the value was in the millions. So, accounting for inflation, this is very different now. This is a bigger figure than this makes it sound like today in 2022. And the last thing I'll share here, this is further along in chapter 19. This is the incident in Ephesus, with Artemis. The whole crowd was just angry at Paul and were just in an uproar. And it says, meanwhile, some were shouting one thing and some another, and the whole assembly was at sixes and sevens, for most of them had no idea why they had come together at all. I had never heard this before, at sixes and sevens. I had to Google that, and it's like an English idiom, like everything was just crazy, or, it was just kind of, a very English touch in this paraphrase that I was not familiar with as an American. Okay, one last thing. We just had to look at one of the maps. These are, they're not highly detailed, but it's a pretty good, clear map, and I like it's kind of got that look of being maybe hand drawn. It might have been partly generated on a computer. I don't know. It just seems very suited to the time, but yeah, so I'd read through Acts in this and enjoyed learning a little bit about it, seeing some of its uniqueness, and I certainly respect very much what Phillips did in his time in trying to serve the youth and get them into the New Testament, into the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Not a translation for me. Like I say, I'm not really big on paraphrases anyways, but appreciate the opportunity to check it out. So, hey, what do you think? Have you read the Phillips translation? Do you have any thoughts on it? Do you have a particular paraphrase that you love? Share it in the comments below. If you found this entertaining or helpful, please give me a like. If you'd love to see more of my videos, I invite you to subscribe. And as always, I thank you for watching. God bless, and we'll see you for the next one.